Is that a new Death Valley image?
No, this is an old Death Valley image.
You know, if that were my image, it's a little dark in that.
Open up your shadows.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really
man.
bothers me.
Rule number one, take off your lens cap. Rule number two, turn on your camera. Rule number three, open up your stinking shadows.
Shoot to the right.
Dude, shoot to the right. That's another one.
Shoot
Don't
to
cut
the
your
right.
frame in half. We should do a whole show on all the rules.
All the
And
stupid common wisdoms and rules that we've heard.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But speaking of rules, no, actually, speaking of quotes, we weren't speaking quotes, but we are
No.
now. So you know what? There's a recent quote from Kurt Vonnegut. I've asked you to have that ready. Hopefully you have that ready. But I thought it was really good, and it'll fit with some things that Brooks was talking about that has stimulated some thoughts as well. Do you have that available to read the
Yeah,
Kurt
and I
Vonnegut
think a
quote?
little background on the quote, as I
Okay,
recall, I don't know, a third or a fourth grade class, something like that, had written to
that's
a
right.
bunch of writers, and only Kurt Vonnegut responded. And he said a lot of things, but this was the part that I wanted to save and read. Practice any art. Oh, this was asked, what advice would he give to the children? Practice any art, music, singing, dancing, acting, drawing, painting, sculpting, poetry, fiction, essays, reportage, no matter how well or how badly, not to get money and fame, but to experience becoming, to find out what's inside of you, to make your soul grow. Seriously, I mean, starting right now, do art and do it for the rest of your lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Pretty moving. And so part of the discussion we had in our time with Brooks kind of talked about do the work. Number one, you got to do the work. You got to show up and just create. Like Kurt says, you got to keep making art without regard for the quality of it. And I struggle in that a little bit because certainly I think we want to produce good art at some point, right? But I think the point Kurt's making in this is still valid. You got to keep doing it. You're gonna make, maybe the better way to say it is you're going to make good and bad art. It's just part of the process, right? And then to add to this thought, Brooks talked about one of the biggest things that causes people not to submit the art that you make to like a lens work is they don't finish the project. They don't finish the art. It's not done yet. It's not good enough. And perfectionism gets in the way of just doing and creating the art. But you probably have different thoughts on Kurt's words there
Well,
too.
perfect is the enemy of good. I think what he was saying was that no matter how well or how badly, so many of us don't pick something up or we don't continue with it because we don't get good at it. So we think we're wasting our time. And I think his point is whether you do it well or do it poorly, it's not a waste of time. It's the act of creating and exploring. The other thing, not to get money and fame, do it to not get money or fame. This has become the little Brooks show, but another thing Brooks brought up is most of us pick up photography as a hobby.
Yep.
Now, I know that would rub some people wrong. We do it though as an avocation, not as a vocation. We do it because we want to create something.
Mhm.
But how many things, other hobbies do people pick up, say golf or pickleball, and then try to monetize it?
Yeah.
Nobody. Nobody
No,
says, I become a professional pickleball player and get on the professional pickleball circuit to earn money. Yet he said, that's the only one that I know where people pick it up, photography, and then try to monetize it. And it seems like everyone does. They try to sell their prints. They get them in coffee shops. They put them online. They put them on Etsy. Why do
yeah.
we do that?
Yeah. But the other key word in Vonnegut is becoming. To me, that's a really important word because
Experience coming.
meaning the very practice of creating art, no matter what it is, means that you've got to do some introspection. You've got to give some thought to, especially if you want that art to mean anything, you've got to give some thought and do the hard work. And that's the introspection on becoming someone or becoming or finding out why you are who you are and all that. That's the work that I think Vonnegut's talking about. So it's worth it for that. Don't worry about the money. It's worth it to learn who you are and who you are becoming.
To
That's all.
find out what's inside of you to make your soul grow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he covers it all. Any art, music, singing, dancing, acting, drawing, painting, sculpting, poetry, fiction, essay, reportage.
Yeah. He doesn't
Any
mention photography, so maybe we're not artists. I don't know.
that is interesting, but I'm sure he did not exclude that for any good reason.
I'm thinking about your previous comment about, golf or whatever. I have a dear friend who is a great photographer. He loves photography. He loves the gear. His wife, though, is a master quilter. And if I ask Scott or Joyce, is Joyce making money? She's got a long arm. I don't know if you know what those are, but it takes up a whole bedroom, right? When they bought this house down in Tennessee, they had to have a bedroom specifically for Joyce's long arm. And Scott cannot go buy new camera gear without buying a new sewing machine for Joyce or a new long arm. It's quite a fun relationship. They're great people. But Joyce doesn't make quilts for money. She makes them because they're these incredible works of art that have great meaning to them because they're square, like when Dan Sniffen passed away, she made a quilt for Denise that she hand delivered to her that was so appropriate for Dan. That's
Right?
priceless. There's no money that should be ever attached to that. And so it gets back to our last discussion about what we learned in Out of Death. I'm sorry, Out of Chicago Live. This idea of let's take Vonnegut to heart here. Let's make art no matter what it is, but then let's share it and let's share PDF books about it as well as prints. I mean, I think people do like to buy some prints here and there, but more importantly, let's get that work shared with the world. So.
Enough.
Yeah, I think that's enough. We'll lead on to the next one. I got to turn off my notifications for the next one. Guys, we are so tech savvy. It's unbelievable how we remember nothing about what we're supposed to do.